Oh, hey. Gosh, thank you for joining me. My name is Jonny Hansen, and these are my lofty thoughts. I thought, man, I never use any of those stupid sounds on this thing, and what did I pay for it if not to enjoy the sounds from time to time? And this is episode 80. I think I would have had a good voice for doing that at the stadium. Maybe somebody should hire me. Is anybody hiring? Amway's right down the road. Amway. I'm going to submit a tape. That's what it's going to be. Hotness. I get enthusiastic too, believe it or not. I know usually I'm pretty subtle here, but boy, I think I'm a good candidate. You should hire me. What else can I say about myself? I have no experience doing any of that stuff. I probably get nervous in front of that many people. Maybe. Who's to say? We did one time play a show, the band Grinch. I was the singer for that band. We played a show in front of like 15,000 people. The Amway holds a ton more than that. Jeez. But I'm ready. I'm ready for the big leagues. Let's do this. Let's just come up with a deal. You throw some numbers at me. I'll give it to my people. My people will say yes. That's it. So just come up with something. I want it to be pretty good. I'm going to need something. I don't want to go there all the time. It's a far drive for me, but about an hour plus traffic. Oh, yeah. Come up, sweeten the pot. I'm saying like I would want to fly there. Can you get a helicopter? There's one that can land somewhere very close. I want a helicopter. That'll be good. That'll be a good way to start. So just submit something. You know how to get a hold of me. Have your people call my people. All right. Thank you. Sorry, that business out of the way. Amway. Now we're just moving on from here. Lofty 80 episodes. Yeah. It's coming right along. I'm still getting positive feedback. In fact, there's more people listening now. Oh, crud. I didn't even turn on my light. I don't know if you can see me very well. Am I dark? Is it dark here? Gosh, it didn't look dark. Maybe I should. Is it too late? It's probably too late. We'll just move on from here. Hopefully there's enough filtration light coming through the window. And this will just be dark, Lofty. Let's get some ideas out of here. My friend Jim. Hey, Jim. Jim's a great guy. Jim's the cop. Am I giving up too much? Hell no. Jim's the cop that's a friend of mine that advised me how to go about getting my mom's luggage and the advice. Jim's the best. And Jim, I sent this to him and or that episode to him, and he was laughing, and he had some great feedback on that, and I appreciate you, buddy. And then he was saying, gosh, I've been thinking a lot about iron sharpens iron, which is a biblical phrase from Proverbs. And he goes, man, I just feel like something should be spoken about that because that's so important. And it reminded me to kind of keep an eye out for the next time that came around. And it came around today as I was talking to my good buddy and partner on the podcast, Untrained Philosophical Discussionists, UPD, Andy Lamb. And Andy, if you believe in jinxing, not me, but people do, and that's fine. I jinxed Andy by saying his house was already locked in. Well, some scumbag backed out. And I mean scumbag because there was another offer on the table. And because of an affiliation, and I know, everybody's going to go, you can never do that kind of stuff. But it happens. Sometimes your heart gets pulled in a direction. And Andy's a heck of a nice guy. And his heart got pulled in the direction that wasn't just financial gains. It was more of a, heartstring pull. And he agreed to something he maybe shouldn't have. He'll admit it to this point in time now. He wouldn't do it again. It's, you live and you learn. But that person ended up backing out. Ugh. And since they put some stink on it too, because that's what happens is if you go under contract and then somebody backs out, there's a lot of questions like why are they backed out? Is it junk? Is there something wrong? So then people start looking for that, and it takes a little while for that stink to go away. So now here he is a bloody month later, and he's just keeping his cool, man. Every time I talk to him, there's good days and there's bad days. But it seems like, whenever I chat with him, and obviously if you watch UPD, he's just got a positive attitude. He doesn't let it take him out. He doesn't let it ruin his day or any of that stuff. And he's still got his garbage can. He keeps low enough, I guess is how I would say it. He keeps that garbage can good and low. He rectifies any grievances of his heart daily and clears those things up and chats with God, and God takes those things at the foot of the cross. So I would encourage anyone to do that. And it inspires me. It's like, because when I get frustrated with things, I think about a bigger thing like selling your house, and then my buddy's selling his house, and I go, this 24-hour frustration or 12-hour or 2-hour frustration could be remedied in a day, 2 days, or 3 days. And through that lens, I'm able to deflate some of the anxiousness. I've said this before, I can get good and tight on some nonsense. I can have one of those days it's death by 1,000 cuts, and I'm about cut 3 and I'm about ready to cut someone, and he just has a lot of grace. And I think that's because he cleans his trash out daily. And I think he's just walked a path long enough now, and he's seen enough around him, and he is put through tests. And they say through all these tests, take joy, because on the other end, you're going to get stronger. And that's that iron sharpens iron, in the sense of, I watch him go through these trials. I watch him not lose his cool. I watch him remain patient and still open to help others. And I go, dang, that's a cool dude. And it inspires me to do better. So, and then on the other hand of it, he credits me with stuff. So he'll see me working on my patience, and that helps him in another area of his life. So that's why we're such good friends, is because that is such a reciprocal, circular relationship where we're always feeding each other in a way. And I hope that every viewer out there, all y'all out there, have somebody like that, where you can become better. You're becoming better as a friend. You're becoming better because of the friendship. And with my wife, it's like that too. It's like, she's an alpha female. She's kicking butt at work, as I've explained a bunch of times. She just got a recent promotion, which puts her in such an elevated position over many other employees. And it doesn't go to her head. Immediately, she's honoring God with the position. She's inviting God in to direct her and to lead her, and so that she can become the best version of herself for the team. And I'm just like inspired by that. It's like, gosh. And then it checks my own frustrations once again, where I'm, maybe not seeing a success. I remember when when her heart had some doubt or was unsure, and then I got to fill in that space. And then she does that for me on the other end too, because she goes, well, look at what's happened for me as I prayerfully go forward. And then I go, yeah, you're right. And I need to do what you're doing. So I need to submit this to God and say, hey man, I'm frustrated. I don't want to be, and I know you got great plans for me, and I'm just going to rest in that and be secure in that. So it's not just men that iron sharpens iron. It's also steel sharpens steel, is how some people say it. The Bible says iron sharpens iron. But I hope that you have somebody out there like that. And if you don't, go look around. Like, start trying to find somebody. There are people out there that are probably in your orbit that maybe you haven't associated that with that way. And I think, as we've said in our podcast, it has to do with vulnerability. So the more you're able to humble yourself and your pride and say, I'm struggling with this. My friend Jared and I were chatting about that. I might have mentioned that a couple episodes ago, where Jared, he was the first one to be open about just a slow month in business. And it was right before the election. I was like, gosh, I haven't got any calls either. And he's like, oh, what a relief. And I'm like, me too. And we were able to dump off that frustration because we're able to be relatable, that it's not just an isolated me. I've done something. What am I tracking here? I'm looking at these things going, oh, what's happening? He's got the same thing. And then we're able to be stronger on the back end, going like, oh, okay, so this is something else happening. This ain't me faulting at my work. This ain't me slacking. This ain't me in some sort of a situation that's only my own. No, there's a bigger situation going on here. So my expression would be to you, or my hope for you would be that your finding people you think you can trust, giving them a piece of vulnerability, seeing how they react to it, and hopefully it's positive. And if it is, that might be someone that will then share something vulnerable about themselves. And now all of a sudden you guys are growing. And that's the iron sharpens iron. Okay. Geez, what else did he say? Oh, yeah. All right, here we go, UPD again. But Andy would say you should have a mentor that you're mentoring from, and you should also be mentoring. So there should be someone above you and someone below you in that metaphor. Not that they're below you and not the other person's above you. I got great friends that are in their 70s and 80s who are just fantastic folk that we're peers in certain ways. And then in other ways, I'm a student and they're a teacher. And you can always tell when you got a good mentor because it should flow in and out of that. It should flow into peership as you continue to grow through their mentorship. Then you become peers, and then you'll hit another challenge, and then they're if they've went through it, or most likely they have, if they're someone you're respecting on, they're up here again, and so they're teaching, and then you're down here and you're student, and you have to humble yourself to that, and they humble themselves to your peership from time to time too, where they go, "Gosh, you've grown a lot." I get that from time to time from my good buddy Dave Fox. Guy's phenomenal, super smart guy. Seen it all, had a very difficult life, had a lot of things happen at a very young age that other people would react very poorly to. And he went through it. Don't get it twisted. Every man has his day where he's not as good as he'd like to be. But Dave's come through on the other side with just a heck of a great attitude, and he's smart as a whip, and compassionate, and listens well, and always has short, smart things to say that don't leave a lot of room for me to kind of try to logic base work my way out of. He hits me straight up in the face with a with a 5-finger combo, and it's sharp and it hurts sometimes, but it's always right on because he's considerate, and he considered what he wanted to say. This old man that Andy works with, who's a mentor to him, as Andy's frustrated and he's kind of frustrating, or he's caught up in his frustration, he's kind of speaking this thing out, and this older fella says, maybe God's teaching you perseverance, and just sits there with that. That's how Dave does it to me too. It's like one statement and you're left dwelling, but it hits. It's like, douche. Oh yeah, stay faithful. Persevere through the difficult times. Keep my head up. Know that there's a greater plan. Accept that this is happening, but accept that, as the Bible says, God has great plans for me. So once you start doing that, that paradigm shift happens. You might have seen my brother and I speaking. My brother's a man of faith too, if that wasn't apparent, and I'll have him back next year. That was on the last episode. I'll have him back next year, and him and I are going to go into like his faith walk. It's beautiful. He's got some awesome people that came along his path. It just seemed like we got so much background. We were having such a fun time telling his background story and telling old stories that we never quite got to that part. And I know that was something, Keith, if you're hearing this, buddy, I know that's something you wanted to get to. We will get to it again, brother. And I just was so excited to have him on and speak with him, and gosh, it was fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed that too. But this old man with this perseverance thing, like you really sit, that sometimes it's a short statement like that that's considerate, that really sits your butt down, and it doesn't give you all that wiggle room to say, well, that's not me, or that doesn't apply to me. It's like almost just a one word, persevere. And what does that mean? Persevere means you just go through, it's going to happen, and you have options in that, but the best option is going to be to hold your head up high and say there's a reason, and I'm going to keep trudging, I'm going to keep moving, I'm going to keep believing. And that's what Andy seems to do, and I admire that. That's a long way to go about saying that. You find someone you admire, you see if they want to spend some time with you, you share vulnerabilities with them, they share theirs, and now you're making each other better. Iron sharpens iron. There you go, Jim. Okay. All right. Oh, boy. I got a story to tell. My brother reminded me of so many stories when we were hanging out. He reminded me of like gravel roads. We grew up in a little town. Like he said, there's only 1,000 people or maybe 1,500 people in this town. Small. Small. I couldn't wait to get out of there. And in fact, right when I graduated, it's like 3 days after we graduated, I think I've mentioned this before, I had a great buddy, Oscar. And Oscar and I bought this crappy Cadillac, and we were planning on, all right, we got this Cadillac here, and we're going to drive down to Texas because he had family down there, and we were supposed to get some work. We never did. And maybe I'll tell that story sometime. But prior to that, maybe a day before we left, so it's only a couple days after we graduated, and it's a day or so before we're leaving to go down to this place where we're supposed to get some work. And we got a case of beer. We threw it in this Cadillac, in the back of this Cadillac. We have 5 guys in this vehicle. And it was a 2-door Caddy. It wasn't a 4-door. And on top of that, we were little marijuana smokers. We like to smoke the cannabis. We sure like that a lot. We called it marijuana then. Now it's cannabis today. They changed that back. They don't like that marijuana. And that's because of that 1920s real push against marijuana, where they came up with like, what was that movie called? Where people were going freaking nuts when they smoke weed. They die, jump off of stuff. Get out of here, crazies. The government put that one out. But they also thought if they titled it marijuana, they would relate it to brown Mexican people or others, basically, any others. And then, because it was a Mexican word that had something to do with something, but I don't think it was cannabis. It was something else. And it just kind of took over, and people thought it was foreign. It's a foreign drug. Get that out of our streets. Keep it away from our kids. It's killing them. Look at them dancing over there. They're going to die from the dancing. That was gosh, I still can't remember that stupid movie. It's called. Rogan mentions it all the time. Anyways, we had some of that stuff with us, and we were smoking some of that and drinking some of that, but we were on these gravel roads. And the thing is like gravel roads, you go like 25 miles an hour. That was the fastest you'd go because it's very loose gravel. And these were wide, very wide gravel roads with like big round turns and like shallow and wide ditches on either side that were just grass and clean. And you wouldn't, there's no culverts or anything around it. And we're rolling along, and I swear, I'm driving, and I remember this. I'm driving, but like I'm sitting sideways and kind of looking at my buddies as we're talking. I'm looking in the back seat. Oh, yeah, really? Back there? And you kind of roll off the dirt road a little bit, and you'd feel it in the steering wheel. You kind of, get right back on. And I don't know how many beers we're in. It doesn't really matter. But we're rolling along. We had done that a bajillion times. So many times. It was like the minute you'd exit the city, the cops weren't out in the country driving around these gravel roads. Every once in a blue moon, you'd see a sheriff. But it was irregular. Maybe half a dozen times in my entire driving around and drinking or smoking pot career did I ever run into any law out in the countryside. Unfortunately, this was one of those times. Oh, God. So we're like rolling along. I'm leaned probably all the way around at this point in time with my back on the steering wheel, for God's sakes. And I think Oscar would reach over from time to time and go, hey, man, off the road, push us back in. Hand me another beer. Sure. And he hands it up, and I'm like fiddling in the little section here where there's 2 cup holders. Oh, gosh. And all of a sudden, 150 yards back. So a good football field and a half. Yards. Yeah, did I say yards or feet? Doesn't matter. I said yards. Yeah, football field and a half, maybe even 2 football fields back. I see these lights because it's just in the distance. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, no. And everybody's like, what is it? And I go, oh, my God. I think I see, oh, my God, there's a cop coming. And they're like, pull over, let us out. And I'm like, no. And they go, pull over right now, let us out. And I'm like, dude, please, guys, hey, no. If you do that, I'm totally screwed. Do not do that. If anything happens, he's going to pull me out of the car first. We all know this. He'll get me out of the car first. If that happens and you guys but give me a second to talk. Please don't run right away. please, please, please don't run right away. Give me a second. Anything happens, he starts walking me back to his car. Y'all skate, do whatever you got to do. Because we always used to run. We get pulled over, we'd run. If we were drinking at all, we'd run. And this time, only this time, thank you, Oscar. I feel like there was a Chris in there, a Chad in there, and I don't know who else. But thank you guys, any of you guys still around and end up listening to this ever in life. They didn't run. And he comes right up on us, and his lights are up, and I've already stopped, and I've already got everything, and I've got my hands up on the wheel, and we didn't hide a bloody thing. There's 2 beers in the thing. I've got, you guys, oh my God, you have to be about my age. I'm 45. I think you have to be somewhere in the vicinity of my age to know what a pog is. There were these little like coin-like things I think you'd flick off the something or other. I never actually, it was my younger brothers that had them, and they would have these tubes, these pog, P-O-G tubes. Maybe it's P-A-U-G or P-A-W-G, pog. I don't know. But it would have this tube, and you'd put all these like coin-like things in them. And you stack all the way up this tube. Well, I dumped one of those tubes out, and then I took some stainless steel parts from the hardware store, and I had made it into a bong. So pog bong. Everybody thought that was great. I thought it was awesome. Put a little water in that thing. That water kind of clears out some of that fire from the smoke, especially if you like to take big old engulf your whole body blows of that stuff, which I did at the time. It was the best. And we had been doing that. The car was smoky. That's what I remember that. I rolled the window down. The minute I seen it, I was like, please don't run. Roll your window down. We roll it down. Turn the fan on to blow everything out we possibly can. Come on. So stupid. Didn't work. So this guy pulls us over, and he walks right up to the car. And I got my hands up on the steering wheel. I'm just, stupid. Sir? And he goes, Johnny Hansen. No. Yep. And he goes, couldn't help but notice you went off the road back there. And he's got his light right, they always do in the dark. It's right there, and he's flicking it around, and he sees everything. Nothing's hidden. There was no space stop. There's 5 people in the bloody car. There's nowhere to hide it, and there's no reason to do it anyways. Everything stinks. I knew it. Nobody moved to do that. They just wanted to get out of there. And thank God something stilled their little baby hearts, and they waited. This comes to a resolution here. So this guy's like, seen you went off the road. And I go, yes, sir. Sorry, lost the wheel there for just a second, but we got right back on it. And he goes, what y'all out doing? And I go, we're just sharing memories. My buddy here and I we got some work down in Tejas. We're going to go down there and make a little money and get out of here. Get out of your hair, sir. I smile so hard, I'm like cracking my teeth. And still can't see who he is. And he goes, why don't you get out the car? And I go, no problem. You don't leave, you sons of bitches. You stay. And I stare daggers into each one of them like, you'll ruin me, you. No problem. And I go, you want my ID or any? Nope. Insurance? Nope. Just hop on out. Okay. And I get out, and I've had a couple. I didn't drink a lot when I was in high school. I really didn't. I became an alcoholic later, for sure. Nightmare alcoholic. Wake up in the middle of the night and take shots to go back to sleep alcoholic. Yuck. But I wasn't that at this time. So I hop out of the car, and he pulls it down, and I see his last name. And I'm not even going to say it here because what the heck? He could be retired by now. Doesn't matter. He was the father of a girl that was in my class. And Bennett, I'm just going to say his name, Sheriff Bennett, because thank you, Sheriff Bennett. Now I'm about to give up the spoils here, but I've never gotten a DUI or a DWI or any of that stuff. And it's only because Sheriff Bennett was just a generous guy who seen a young man in a problem and decided to have grace. So he goes, you guys clearly drinking. And he goes, that little circular thing, that looks like a marijuana paraphernalia. And I go, yes, sir. That's correct. And he goes, that's illegal. And I said, yes, sir, it is. And he goes, you know my daughter? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, yeah, I seen you guys graduate 3 days ago. And I go, yes, sir. And he goes, this could really screw up your future. I know. And he goes, this is dumb. Dumb, dumb, dumb. I go, yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. And when you think you're going to go? And I said, we leave in 2 days or 3 days, whatever it was short. And he goes, if I take you in, you ain't even getting out of jail that quick. And I'm just sweating now because I'm like, oh. All right. He said, when I take you in. Like, because he was still, I don't know what was going through his mind. I never found out, I never seen the man again in my entire lifetime. But he goes, here's what I'm going to do. You're going to walk towards me. If I even suspect you're stumbling, I'm putting you in the back of the car. And if your buddies run, I know who they are. You've seen all their faces. It's blank, 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 blank. And they all heard it too. They're in the car. They can hear him. He's being plenty loud as he kind of leaned down, flash that light back through there. And he goes, Chad, Chris, Oscar. Okay. Yes, sir. So it's all on me. And he walks back about 10 paces, and I walk straight towards him. And praise God, I didn't stumble a bit. I didn't go from side to side. Again, maybe a beer or 2 beers. Now, and plenty of pot, but I smoked tons of that. I could walk straight with that. I don't think that affected me that way. Certainly not the brown little crappy weed that was probably picked out of the ditch locally that we'd smoke a pound of and catch a headache. But nonetheless, this man goes, you're going to hop back in that car. I'm going to follow you for as long as I deem it necessary. And if you even slightly go off this road at all, I'm going to pull you right back over. So you see those lights, you better pull right back over. Yes, sir. And then you're all going to jail. No problem, sir. I got this. And he goes, all right. When you see my lights turn off, the flashers turn off, you can go. All right. So I hop in the car and I explain all of it to the guys. The radio's off. And we start driving. He follows us. And he followed us for maybe a couple of miles. God, he followed us for a couple of miles. And the whole time I'm doing 5 miles below the speed limit, which had to irritate the piss out of that guy. He had to be like, come on, get up to the speed limit, idiot. But right as we're about to get into town, he broke off and continued down some other gravel roads, and we went into town, and the guys were like, oh, we're good. And I remember like somebody saying that, and I said, you're good to go home. And I drove each guy and dropped them all off, and I went to my house, and there was his sheriff's car sitting in my house. That guy was no fool. He went straight to my house, probably rolled around the city and then went straight to my house. However he did it, he got there. And right as I pulled up, he was there. He turned on his lights because he had just shut his car off. It looked like just another car parked there. There's city lights and stuff, but it's just sitting there. And right as I'm pulling up in, he turns just his headlights on and then drives away, drives right past me. And I go, thank you. Oh, I'm leaving one dumb part out. When he said you're going to hop back in your car, I swear this is true. I said, can I give you a hug? Something to that effect. Or, I'd like to give you a hug. That's what it was. And he goes, no, don't touch me. I can't believe I said that. I was so embarrassed. The guys teased me forever. After everybody stopped crapping their pants, they were like, did you try to hug that guy, goofball? I'd never been released from anything. I always got in trouble for every little pissant thing I ever did. And I always got in more trouble than everybody else I know. That's how it always worked. But that one time, that man had grace and I got away and I wanted to hug him for it. So silly. Anyway, I guess those are my stories for you. Never got that DUI. Never did thereafter. There's plenty of other times well, it goes without saying that subconsciously I certainly tried to get a bunch. There was a lot more driving like that in those drinking years, but That one time got me away. Thank you, Jesus. And thank you, Sheriff Bennett. You were an awesome guy. And I never forgot it. So thanks. Anyways, that's my stories for today. That's Lofty number 80, episode 80. I thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. And I just want to pray that you have a deep and a fulfilling relationship with Jesus and that he blesses you all the days of your life. Have a great afternoon. Thanks again.